Welcome to Suburban Warrior, the podcast that will impact, inspire, and empower you to transform your mindset and become the badass warrior that you are. I'm your host and fellow warrior, Chrissy Pfeiffer, former clinician and corporate marketing exec turned multi-passionate entrepreneur, performance and life coach, and mom to 4 not-so-little warriors. Each week, I will bring you honest conversations with inspiring guests to share their stories of resilience, optimism, success, and simple yet effective strategies so that you transform your thoughts and change your behavior to get the results you want in your life. You will be empowered to take action, warrior up, and believe in you. Let's do this. What's up, warriors? Welcome back to Suburban Warrior Podcast. Spring has sprung, and I hope you're all feeling a sense of renewal or rebirth, maybe. You know, with the world slowly opening back up, it certainly feels a lot like a rebirth to me. And with that comes hope and joy and growth. And, you know, every single day that we wake up on this earth is a gift and another opportunity to feel that love and joy and growth. So my hope is that you feel inspired to do the work and work on your mental health and your daily habits to feel good and for growth. My guest today has dedicated her life to helping others and do just that, grow. Character, integrity, optimism, and a great sense of humor. Add that to a unique ability to inspire and motivate others. That's what makes a great leader and how we describe Marci Piasecki. Her down-to-earth and energetic personality has earned her the respect and admiration of colleagues and clients alike. From the bottom to the top of the corporate ladder, Marci never stopped making herself available to everyone from the junior office staff to the boardroom, all while keeping a part of her identity a secret. Now, having made the transition from her 30-plus year career in healthcare advertising to certified professional coach, Marci's work focuses solely on her favorite subject, people, helping her clients realize their potential, purpose, and passion, all while nurturing her own. Welcome to the podcast, Marci.
Hey, Chrissy, how are you?
I'm doing amazing. Thanks so much. And I also should mention as a side note that, you know, I'm super excited to have you on because you're my coach as well. So I can attest to how fantastic you are.
Well, thank you. And thank you for having me. And it works both ways because every coachee I have ends up to be my coach in one way or another, actually.
Yeah, right. Absolutely. I mean, that's the best thing about, I always say everybody needs a coach, no matter where you are in your life and how far you've come. Having a coach is just an amazing experience, but we certainly all learn something from each other, which is part of the amazingness of the coaching process, right?
Yeah. It's awesome. Everybody is our teacher and our student.
Exactly. Yeah. So I'm really excited to have you on today, though, because I know you have such an incredible story to share with us. You've had an incredible career. Your journey there has been amazing. As part of your personal life, you have such amazing insights and a great story to share. So, you know, why don't we start by sharing your story with my listeners? So, where would you like to start?
Well,
how far back should we get?
Yeah. All right. Well, let's start at the beginning because
great
stories all begin.
Absolutely.
You know, from the moment we're born, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And our childhood and all of that has a huge influence. So, real quick, I grew up in a blue collar family, living in a fairly affluent suburb of New Jersey. When I was 7, my dad died suddenly, and my mom, who was probably one of the original warriors in our family, you know, worked very hard to pick up the pieces and raise me and my brother and sister. She worked hard, played hard, sometimes played too hard. I learned over time that while my mom was incredibly strong, she also had some trouble coping and was battling alcoholism for years. And so, with all that said, I learned a lot. I maybe grew up faster than a lot of people. So, a lot going on.
Yeah.
My dad was gone. About a few years later, my mom had remarried, so I had a stepdad, and as I mentioned, a brother and sister who were older and played a really big role in also help raising me because I was so young. So I'd like to say that I think I've got the best parts, the very best parts of my mom. I think my strength comes from my mom for sure. The best parts of my dad, who was in my life for 7 years, and I'm grateful for that. And the best parts of my stepdad, who struggles himself from depression.
Okay.
So it was definitely interesting way to grow up, but I will tell you that I've come a long way. Had some therapy, had a lot of great friends, and on a bad day, I accept who I am, and on a great day, I'm really proud of who I've become.
That's amazing.
So that's the long and short of it. I grew up, like I said, in the suburb of New Jersey, and then went off to the Bronx, New York, college. And while I was in college, I had an experience. I had a lot of experiences, like we all do in college, right?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah,
College is
yeah.
a whole another
But
episode.
yeah.
Right?
I actually showed up too, though, with a whole lot of self-doubt and trying to figure out who I was, and learning that I was now like an adult child of an alcoholic takes on a whole other meaning of itself. And I learned a lot about that and tried to learn what that meant for me. And at the same time, trying to figure out who I was because I had all sorts of feelings going on. I actually, in college, while I had a boyfriend that I had in high school, that I went to a different school. While I was in college, I actually met a woman and had a relationship with this woman, and that was a very defining moment. I couldn't completely understand why,
Yeah.
but it happened, and it became what would be one of the biggest secrets of my life. And what that did was that translated into like secrets do. And and I don't know if you've ever heard, and a lot of this comes out of the Alcoholics Anonymous stuff.
Yeah.
Al-Anon is you're only as sick as your secrets.
Mm.
And it's not to say that I was sick, but I certainly, but I also don't want to underestimate what I was going through, right? So I had gained a ton of weight. I was insecure. I was nervous. Now I meet this woman. Now I do this thing. This is not how I was raised. This is
Right.
all bad.
All of it.
Yeah.
You're feeling guilty for all of it. I'm
Yeah.
sure.
I mean, and this is back in the 80s
Yeah,
when
of course. Of
being
course.
gay wasn't cool. And not to mention the fact that I was in complete denial of it. I was just like I convinced myself that I was just experimenting and having fun.
Yeah, I'm
And
sure
that
it's
I was,
all very confusing.
yeah, and just tuck it away. So I just put it away. Graduated college and I put it away. And when I got out of college, I decided that no one would know that, and that again wasn't really doing me any favors, right? There's all sorts of stuff. You're a coach, you know this stuff, right?
Yep.
There's lots of shame,
Mm-hmm.
lots of embarrassment, lots of, where am I going from here? So I quickly went out and found a boyfriend because I was going to fix it.
Yep. Just the quick fix to all the problems, right? Find a boyfriend.
Yeah, that was it.
Yeah.
And then once I set myself straight, that would be fine. And
Exactly.
I could, freak out my family, and So that was it. I did. I found myself a boyfriend quickly, and still, very very overweight, very insecure. Used my humor to try and get through things, and focused on a career, on starting my career. And I got a job in advertising, and that would be the beginning of what ended up to be a 30+ year career, which was nothing short of amazing.
Yeah, I was going to say a 30 plus, like highly successful, amazing career.
Yeah.
I mean, I know you have, CEO, president, managing director, all these different titles that show just how successful of a career you've had. But I think what speaks to the success of your career is also just how well loved you are by the people that you worked with, and just what an amazing leader you are as
Yeah.
well.
Thank you. Thank you for saying that. And it's interesting that you say how loved and all of that. I wish I realized that early in my career, that had I been who I ultimately became, and as authentic as I ultimately became,
Yeah.
I wish I believed that people would have loved me all along. I now know in retrospect they would have.
Yeah.
So it's interesting.
Oh my gosh, absolutely. And that's a huge message for anyone that's listening that might be younger than you and I, that just realizing that, owning who you are and owning your authenticity and having the courage to be vulnerable is okay,
Yeah.
because it's okay. People will still love you and respect you and be there for you no matter what. And if they aren't, then they're not meant to be in your life anyway.
Yeah.
So, okay. So you go through this crazy, confusing time. You have, trauma in your childhood. You graduate from college, you get, your, this great job in advertising, and you're working your way up the corporate ladder. But all along, you're keeping this personal secret about sort of who you really are and your identity.
Right. Yeah.
What is
Exactly.
that? Yeah.
So,
what does that feel like for you?
yeah. So right. So I had this essentially a 3-year relationship with a woman in college. Cut it off, get the boyfriend, get the career, and now I'm on a track to do all the right things.
Yes. So you think.
So I think.
Right.
Still very overweight, probably 50 pounds heavier than I am now, and just confused. So yes, I did. I started in an entry level position. And as I was working my way up, I held on tight to a secret. And then even when I was ready to admit things, I wasn't ready to myself. I wasn't ready to admit it to everybody else. But that first step was huge. I ended up shortly 1 year into my career meeting Kelly, who is the woman I am now married to and have been with for 30 plus years, 33 years.
It's awesome. That's amazing.
Life changing.
Yeah.
So at that moment, when I met her, and at this point in my life, I had to be really honest with myself. I still couldn't be honest with everybody else.
Yeah.
So to your point, yeah, I spent a lot of time holding this secret. And I mean, ridiculous, and I had, it was all in my head. It was all my self-talk to me, how that I would be judged, how I wouldn't fit in, like I couldn't possibly let anyone know this. So I took the picture of the old boyfriend. I put it on, yes, and I made sure to talk about him a lot. But literally, I put a picture on my desk because I'm like, I just need to fit in. And I was, I had a lot of friends. I was fitting in, and year after year after year went by. Kelly and I were now banging up on like a 10-year anniversary that I couldn't even share with anybody because I could have. I decided not to because I decided in my mind that if I said anything, I wasn't going to make it in my, people would look at me differently. I didn't see anyone else around like me. I didn't see you, right? Very different now.
Right. I love that you said that. I didn't see anyone else around like me. I had a guest on the podcast last week who basically she writes books about helping girls to see all the different jobs and careers that they can have because when you don't see someone like you you think that that's not possible, right? And so whether we're little girls or a grown woman who has an amazing 10-year career already, you were still struggling with not seeing anyone who looked like you or anyone who was like you, being highly successful, fitting in, sitting in the boardroom, being a CEO. So you just had to keep it a secret. Meanwhile, all your colleagues are probably like, what's up with this boyfriend that she's been dating for 10 years? Why are they not married?
Well, I eventually had to take the picture down and pretend we broke up.
Right, exactly. Oh, we broke up.
It's funny you say that, Chrissy, because as much as I think I'm keeping this secret, when I eventually, so now like move forward to the later in my career, I was with a company for 10 years where I grew up, kind of keeping this secret. I left to go to another company, and then I was invited back to that original company to be president of one of the spinoff agencies. And I came back determined to be the person they knew with a twist. I decided finally I had the title, I had the confidence, and I was ready to be who I was. So granted, it took a while, but when I finally stepped up, wow. So I start, so now I'm telling people and people, it's funny. They're like, yeah, we kind of knew. We kind of I said, oh,
isn't that so interesting and ironic, right? That like the whole time you're struggling so hard to keep this a secret, and people knew.
Yeah, they knew because no matter what, I really am and really want to be so authentic, and I was so out there. I just wasn't saying the words, and every single person said, "Marci, yeah, we all kind of know." And it's really okay.
Yeah.
Oh, good Lord. Had I only known that sooner that it was all going to be okay. Of course it's okay. It was all in my head, And
yeah. I mean, and it's so just amazing and interesting how everything, all the stories that we tell ourselves, it's just all in our head.
Yeah.
It's just, and the sooner that we realize that, the better. It's all in our head. We create these stories for ourselves. So how did you feel when you were able to sort of just be you and everyone knew?
Yeah, a lot less sick, if you will, right? So once the secret is out, you said it before, you shine a light on it, you say it out loud, and all of a sudden, it's just a huge relief. I mean, this was like in my young life, anybody that I could share with, about my mom, being an alcoholic. For every 3 people I told, one of them was like, yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Sure. It's like I think we just think that everybody else is, living the good life. It's what we do. And we think that it's all so, just us, suffering with this stuff. But that's what happens when you keep a secret.
Yeah.
That's right. So to answer your question, the minute it comes out. So, and I'll tell you the truth, like the things I did when I finally came out, and now I'm at a high level because I guess there was a part of me that said, I'm here now. No one can touch me now. So it's okay. I can be gay. I cut my hair. I started wearing like it's silly, right? It seems silly, but I was so nervous. I was so self-conscious before. I better not have short hair. I better, my voice is already deep. I already have this strong personality. I was so self-conscious all the rise to my career until I got to the top. And I was like, I felt confident. And I did what felt comfortable, with some level of pride. And everybody, not only were they okay, they were almost even better.
Yeah.
When you mentioned at the beginning about how much people liked me because in my leadership career, for the 18 years that followed after those first 10, I mean, give or take, I'm a little off on the numbers, but that's why people gravitated. They were like, wow, that's amazing that she can do that. They don't, forget the years that I couldn't do it. But when I finally could, what a reward.
What a reward. And I think not only that for yourself and being able to feel authentic and be who you are and dress how you want to and look how you want to, but what an amazing role model that you were to other not only women, men, anyone who
Yeah.
could look at that and say, okay, again, now all of a sudden, someone that looked like them was doing
Yeah.
what they wanted to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
You're 100% right.
Yeah. So it's just, it's just so wonderful. And for everybody, I feel like the more that we can show up in all areas of our life as our authentic selves, the better off not only we are, but everyone is, everyone around us.
Right.
We make the world a better place when we show up exactly who we are. And that's not always easy. It's not
Yeah.
always easy to do as in your situation for sure.
Yeah.
And owning your story, the good, the bad, the ugly, owning, the alcoholism, owning that you lost your father at an early age. I mean, so traumatic.
Mm.
That's a hard story to own. It
Yeah.
really is. But when you own it, then you really can not only, release the power that it kind of holds on you, but you can start to share what those experiences are. And then all of a sudden other people can relate and say, oh my gosh, I had to
Right.
live with that too. And it's all growth and love. And it's really amazing. So you had this, amazing 30-year corporate career.
Yeah.
And then, what made you decide to sort of make the switch to becoming a coach? Because you had everything, the big title, great
Yeah.
career, lots of money, you name it. So you had it all. What made you make the switch? It's a big change.
Yeah. So the first thing I had to do was realize that I might actually have an identity outside the president, the CEO, the manager, like all of that. Because by that time in my career, I was in leadership for 18 years, right? So I was, as much as I didn't want to admit, that's what defined me, like in my mind. So leaving that was like step one. What's going to happen if I leave that?
Yeah.
And interestingly enough, I got some help with that from the universe because the company I was at the time went public, and a whole reorg. My position was eliminated.
Okay.
And that ended up to be a blessing because as my position was eliminated, of course, I got an amazing package. Oh, and talk about an example of, money isn't everything. You're not kidding, because I had all this money. I got this package that was amazing, basically to just go sit on the bench for a year and just do nothing, non-compete.
Yeah.
And it was a moment of pause that I said, what would I want my second act to be?
Yeah.
And at that moment, I thought, what was my favorite part of my career? What do I think was the best part of my career? And it was all about the people. It was all about helping people from the lowest level to the highest level, be the very best they could be. I loved it. I absolutely loved it. And I was a champion for people, and I was honest, I was direct, I was transparent. By the time I was a leader, I was authentic, lead by example, and I loved that part. So I thought, how do I carve out that part? And that's where the coaching thing. A friend of mine mentioned that she went to school to be a coach. I'm like, explain it to me. I don't know. So in that year that I had to sit on the bench, I went to school, and it was a 9-month program to get certified as a coach. And then I got cold feet, and I was like, okay, you're just about to graduate. This is going to be real. And what did I do? What I coach people don't want. I went back into my industry.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I didn't know that part.
Yes.
Okay.
So I go back, and for a year, and by now I'm so close to the certification. And a year was up, and I was just tired. I was tired of spending less time with people on the front line, more time with the people in the boardroom. All of it meant less time doing the part of the job I love.
Right.
And so it was only a year, and then I left with a lot of notice for them.
Yeah.
I got certified, and you know, I started my business.
Yeah, and and you followed your passion for people, for doing what you
Yes.
love. And what's great is as I'm listening to you, I'm like, oh my gosh, my story is so similar because while I never got to the title of CEO, but when I decided to leave corporate, it was because I went through that process of looking at what do I love about what I do, and it was always
Yeah.
about leading people, getting people to reach their goals, seeing that look in their face when they achieve something that they didn't believe that they could achieve. And, that's why being a coach is just so wonderful for me and why I find so much joy in it. But, I think that it takes courage. It takes courage to lead.
Yeah.
It takes courage to follow your passion. It does take work, right? It takes that daily sort of process of self-discovery, as I call it, to really understand who you are, what you love, what your
Exactly.
values are, But I think that's just really fantastic that you were able to figure that out, recognize that even after you went back, recognizing that energy. Because as coaches, we talk a lot about our energy, right?
Yeah.
And how our energy really guides us. And you have to focus on where you feel your best.
Mm-hmm.
And you felt that while you went back into that career for the year, you felt it and you realized, nope, I gotta coach.
Yeah.
I gotta try this coaching thing.
Yeah. I mean, you know what? I went into it saying the worst thing that could happen if I go pursue this, and you mentioned it actually in, understanding ourselves better, learning more about ourselves,
Yes.
as well
Yeah.
as anything, the whole process. I mean, until you really have your stuff together, it can be tricky trying to help other people get their stuff together.
Yeah, exactly. You got that right.
Yeah. I mean, and listen, it's a daily project, right? I'm always working on having myself together.
Yes.
And remembering, trying to turn all the tools I use with my clients, turn them on myself, all that good stuff.
Yeah. And once you turn them on yourself, you're like, oh, wait.
Yeah, this is hard.
Yeah, exactly. Wait, this is hard. But speaking of that, I want to ask you, so what is one thing or maybe couple things that you do on a daily basis that helps you to stay maybe aligned, to stay hopeful, to find joy, to be, grateful? What is one thing you think you do?
Yeah. There's a few things. It's a fairly solid ritual of sorts. I get up early every morning, and it's time to sort of just spend time with myself. And I spend time reflecting a whole lot of what I'm grateful for, which is so much, including my past. I'm constantly reconciling that. I do meditation when I can. I do a whole lot of breathing exercises. So even if it's not called meditation, I'm really into fitness. That's a hangover from being really heavy in college.
Well, you look fabulous.
It never goes away. It never ever goes away.
I would say that's a good hangover to have.
Yeah. It really does stay top of mind. My happiness is in many ways related to how I feel and how I look.
Sure, of course.
And so I have a fitness regimen that varies everything from high intensity interval training to weights to rowing to walking to you name it, something or other every day. As I get older, the most important part really seems to be the meditation and the breathing exercises.
Okay. Yeah, no, I think that's great advice. And I also think it's great advice that you have a morning routine. I know not everybody are morning people, but I find that my clients, I know even from speaking for myself, have the most success when they have a specific morning routine that doesn't involve their phone or their computer.
Right.
And it's the first thing in the morning before the kids get up, before husbands or wives get up. It's just you. And it's making that time in the morning specifically just for you, whether it's 10 minutes or an hour.
Exactly.
That morning routine, I think, is really, really important.
Yeah, I love it. It is important. So there's that, and very very, very close with family and friends, and I never miss an opportunity to tell them, and I make opportunities to tell them how I feel about them.
That's wonderful. What a gift that is for them and for you.
It just feels better.
It sure does.
You make someone else feel good, you automatically feel good.
Absolutely.
Well, anyway.
That's what I'm saying. It's such a gift. It's a gift for you because you feel good. It's a gift for them because they feel good. I think that's beautiful. It's something that sounds so simple. Like I'm making an opportunity to tell other people how much they mean to me. It's so simple, but we don't take the time to do it.
Yeah.
So that's great advice.
It's
Love that.
To see people's reactions to it too sometimes.
I bet.
Yeah.
I bet.
Because I have a reputation for being, I'm not afraid to tell people how I feel. But for some people, that can be a little uncomfortable, interestingly.
Yeah.
Isn't it? And that's them, right? That's them not being able to accept the love or the feelings. It's just interesting.
It really is. So let me ask you this. Now, looking back on your career and your life and, how you had to keep it a secret that you were gay. What would yourself today tell your younger self? What advice would you give your younger self?
Oh, yeah. Have the strength and courage that you were raised with. If you were raised like me, the role model was for sure strength from my mother. But most of all, faith. Have faith, because it was faith that made me appreciate it, and I wish I had it sooner. Give people the benefit of the doubt, because more often than not only is it going to be okay with them, they're going to embrace you that much more. Courage and confidence is very, very attractive. Vulnerability is so appreciated. It's amazing. And I wish I knew then what I know now.
Yeah. I mean, I have my mom would always say, and I'm sure this is a famous saying, but my mom would always say, hindsight's 2020, right? But you can't go back and change it. But I think that is fabulous advice because it's really about faith over fear, right? You have faith over fear. We're so fearful of so many things in life. Oh my God, especially in the last year, I feel like we can't even go out without being fearful, right?
Exactly.
I mean, so in so many areas of life, it's just about faith over fear. So I love that's your advice, because I think that that can really trickle into every single area of your life.
Yeah. That's it. I mean, listen, it's very easy to say when you're on the other side of it. So
absolutely.
I guess the other advice would be patience and grace with ourselves, and not to be so hard on ourselves. But that's just what we humans do. We're much harder on ourselves than we are on other people.
You got that right.
Yeah.
That's why I, this whole Suburban Warrior and the podcast and the apparel, it's all about just lifting ourselves up and lifting us up as a community, right? Because we all do the same things. We all have negative self-talk. We all are so hard on ourselves. We're all fearful of things that don't exist.
Yeah.
So it's just about really being there for each other and feeling good about,
Yeah, you're right. And, there's something I wanted to say, Chrissy, that, when you first asked me about this and you talked to me about Suburban Warrior, this is an example of how this stuff sort of lives with you forever, and I try to overcome it. But my first reaction was, I'm not a suburban warrior. I'm not mainstream. I don't fit that, because that's in my head. Never once did you think? I mean, you invited me to talk with you.
Yeah.
And that's huge to me. It should just be, and maybe in your mind, it would just be natural. Of course, Marci, I would want to talk to you. So it's interesting how these things just kind of stick with you, So it's nice to fit in. It's nice to be a different version of a suburban warrior.
You didn't think that I thought it was anything significant that I asked you to be on. But
yeah.
yeah, but you thought it was a big deal.
Well, it's just how you perceive yourself. Like
Yes.
because I've never been mainstream, although I live in a very mainstream world. Like, as I said, like 90% of my friends are, look like you, right? Husband, wife, kids, my brother and sister, kids, grandkids, all that. And that's what I'm comfortable with. That's part of how I was raised. But I never think that I'm that. I'm always, and the fact that you read by choosing me, expand the definition of suburban warrior is just a testament to you.
Oh, you're sweet.
Going on in the world, but it's the honest to God truth. Like,
yes, no, thank you.
That's what happens when you're just not mainstream, no matter what it is. You know what I mean?
No, and I get that. I think we all question ourselves, like, oh, me. But in my mind, oh my gosh, you are like the definition of suburban warrior. But I think because I think that the definition of suburban warrior is flexible, right? It's all of us. We're all worrying up in a different way. We all have to face our challenges and be warriors in our lives in different ways. And so, oh my gosh, in my mind, there's no question, right? I don't think of it as mainstream or not. But I could see that you do, because I think we all question ourselves.
Yeah.
We really do. Yeah. And that's why I actually love this. And I even love, having you on the podcast, because when someone from the outside looks at someone like you, who has all of the success, CEO, president of a big company, all of this title, right? It can make people feel like, oh, I can't talk to her. It makes you feel almost, so I could say the same thing about you. The first time that we had a conversation, I'm like, man, she is a badass. She's so cool, so down to earth, so authentic, right? When my preconceived perception of you was completely different.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. No,
it's like, that's why I love just being like, throwing it all out there, meeting new people, connecting people together who maybe they would never connect with, because they don't think that, oh, they're not like me, or I'm different than them. Who cares? We're all dealing with this crazy experience called life, right?
Yeah, 100%. And everybody's got a story, and the fact that you're giving people the opportunity to tell their story. Everybody's got a story.
Everybody's got a story.
The thing about the stories are, they sometimes we carry them for so long. They just seem like, when in fact,
they're pretty powerful.
They're pretty
powerful. So, yes, they are. Oh my gosh. Well, Marci, thank you so much for being here today, and for being so vulnerable and so authentic with us. Because I really think that, you do have a really, really powerful story, which has translated into a really powerful life that you're living. And you are certainly sharing your gift and your passion for people in everything that you do. And you're an amazing coach. So I want to thank you for that. And you are just such a light in this world. So thank you so much for sharing with us today. I really enjoyed having you on. Thank you. Thank you, Mama. So guys, thank you for joining us on Suburban Warrior this week. We will have another episode for you next week. Please follow, rate, and review this podcast. We'd love to hear from you. So until next week, guys, have an awesome week, and thank you for joining.